Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who share their insights and wisdom so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome. We're excited that you're here. And make sure you stay to the end because we have a great gift for you. But without further ado, I'm excited to be talking to my guest who's coming to us from Las Vegas, which is super exciting. I've never been there. And so without further ado, I want to introduce you to Titus Capilnean with Civic. So welcome, Titus, to the podcast.
Thanks, Heidi. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Titus, can you just kick us off and share with us a little bit about who you are, your company, and your role within it?
Yeah, for sure. I've been in the tech space for better part of 15 years now. Feels like a very long time looking back. Started off in like social media when social media wasn't even like a term. Then moved into AI back in 2016 when deep learning was kind of rediscovered with GPUs being used to train models before LLMs, before OpenAI even started. And then I ventured into crypto and Web3 with Civic in my kind of first stint with them when it was a very kind of early stage company. Did a few iterations with them, launched a beer vending machine experiment, did some cool things throughout the country with that. And then I moved on to AI data, training data before even before the big models, as they were training up the big models, there was all about training data for everything. Then I built my own company for a couple of years in the small business M&A space using large language models. And I came back to Civic about a year and a half almost ago to help build up kind of the expansion into the authentication and then AI space. And then Civic's been around for 10 years. So it started in 2015. It's been through a few waves of Web3 ups and downs. If you're familiar with the market, booms when price goes up and it crashes when price goes down. With that, the market changes significantly. So you kind of have to adapt with it as your products kind of move with the market. Like either the networks change, the underlying technology changes, the applications change. So you have to kind of be on top of your game and be able to reinvent yourself and build up on top of your existing user base, customer base, and be able to serve the new use cases that come up with every cycle. Now, in this cycle, we've expanded from decentralized identity into authentication. We're now focused on delivering like secure authentication services. And then on top of that, we're building a strong agentic AI offering, as this is now essentially the way business is going to be conducted, if not already being conducted in many parts of our day-to-day work life.
So can you talk to us about who's the person you serve or your ideal client?
So, and one last thing, I run go-to-market for Civic. So I'm a VP of go-to-market. That's my role at Civic right now. And then the way we think about our products is like we want to ensure we serve the builders, people that are creating new products, launching new products, going to market with new products, enabling them to manage that unsexy, rather difficult piece that is called authentication, user management. Essentially, like instead of spending weeks or months iterating on like what is a imperfect auth system or something that's very hard to configure, why don't you just bring in something that's like 5 minutes to deploy? You can use your favorite LLM to build it for you. And then on top of that, like as you're building agentic AI, building that authentication layer into that space is not easy to do. We recognize that, and we have expertise in-house that is building products to help those builders deploy faster. So that's, I think, our ethos is like, can we simplify the part that we're expert in, productize it, help builders integrate with a few lines of code?
So, for you all have been in business, Civic, for 10 years. You shared that you've been in the tech space for 15 years, which is fantastic. But AI for many companies has just been really coming on the scene in the last couple of years. So how do you communicate the value of AI without falling into the hype?
I think a lot of people confuse or conflate AI with like, well, we'll replace every worker out there. I think the way we think about it is, can we enable people to do more with AI and 10x or 100x their output in the same kind of workflows that they've been used to, but using these new tools? So instead of like having to spend, let's say, 3 months on a market research project, like the personal example, right? This is like for the past few months. Instead of having you spend 3 months on a market research project to talk to people to understand like the what we're building, how we should build it, feedback, and so on, we were able to compress that in 2 weeks. And because we had to interview real people and schedule them, otherwise it was taken even less because we created most of the materials, we processed all the information with the help of AI, and that would have taken us months to do manually or with older tech.
So, how do you frame AI as a practical tool for business efficiency rather than just the buzzword of the year? Because we are hearing it like it's the latest buzzword.
So I think there's two ways to look at it, right? Like there's a workflow way, different way, and we're seeing all the YouTube videos of people demoing these like long workflows with many steps where like some of them are AI driven, some are not. I think that's the kind of old way of approaching things. I think in the future, people who are the most successful with AI in business will essentially stop micromanaging language models and start giving them goals and guidelines and context, and then letting the model find the right path from the guideline to the goal as you're launching new work streams and building new ways of working. I think that's my personal take on it from a practitioner perspective. I think the model has access to more knowledge than I have. And if I recognize that and frame it within, hey, this is the pod that you need to operate in, these are the guidelines and these are the restrictions that you need to follow, then I'm more likely to find a better path than I'm used to or that I'm familiar with because I don't have access to like all the information at once in the same way the model has.
Titus, how can small teams effectively integrate AI into their existing toolkit or tooling?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first step for everyone working with AI or starting to work with AI is just work with the chatbots, work with the existing chat interface with the ChatGPT or Claude or whatever your favorite AI counterparty is, and get used to that prompting motion. Understand what prompting does to the responses. Figure out like how can you refine the work by interacting with the language model. The other interesting thing that they can do is they can play the model against each other in like an adversarial context. That's what it's called in a specialist terms, where you have one model check the other model's work and work together to refine your inputs or your work. Those are some easy ways to start. Now, after you've got comfortable with that, then you can add things like MCPs, which are a new standard that Anthropic released, I think, late last year, which enables the chat interface to connect with third-party data. Like, for example, it can go into my calendar. It can go into my work Gmail, and it can pull information and help me prepare for meetings. It can help me prepare agendas. It can help me prepare summaries. It can pull documents from my Google Drive. So things like that, or pull information from my CRM, like from my HubSpot or from my Salesforce or whatever I have working in the background. So things like that are easy wins where you can automate something that you do manually. And it takes you like, let's say half an hour to an hour. If it takes you now 10 minutes, that's a win. If you do 10 of those, now you have 10 hours back.
Right.
So that's how I think about it.
Wow. So how can companies with, say, small teams drive impact without a massive budget?
So I think there's many ways to do this, right? Like and in the past, you'd have to host your own, roll your own model, kind of maintain all that infrastructure, you build custom software around it, like build those integrations yourself. I think now there's more and more tooling coming out of the box. We just like pre-released a library on Friday that helps builders wrap authentication around MCP servers, which is not a simple thing to do off the bat, like enabling kind of to have a authenticated stream of data going through that language model, and then essentially your data doesn't leak outside of that secure environment. So people can now leverage many open source tools, many open source libraries to combine them together so that they build the workflow that they need, they build the process that they need, the infrastructure that they need, as opposed to spending tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on consulting projects or hosting their own models and whatnot. Now there's APIs that you can pay as you go for many of these.
So we hear that, AI is something that we always have to keep up on, right? It's not going away, but it's always evolving and changing pretty quickly. So what are some industry trends or AI developments that you're most excited about?
So I think the fact that we're getting to a place where most of the models are operating at almost the same level of performance for ordinary tasks is something that I'm very excited about. I think it's becoming commoditized in the same way, like, I don't know, internet became commoditized at some point, or like processing GPU power became commoditized at some point. I think that's a pretty important trend because you don't have to research all the models for like general tasks. Of course, there's going to be like the 20% of the tasks that are highly specific, and those will require some sort of advanced training, some sort of advanced data expert information being brought in. But I think that it expands access to more companies, more teams to be able to use AI without breaking the bank in this case. So having like these endpoints where you just connect, you send a request, it comes back with a response, or you send a goal and context, and it does a loop until it comes up with a final response based on your goal. I think that's an exciting place to be when it comes to AI. Now, I think I want to caution though, from that perspective. I think there's a lot of people building cool demos and cool point applications or proofs of concept. I think going from that to production will definitely require a bit more serious tooling when it comes to, like, especially the authentication piece and making sure that model only gets the data that it requires. It doesn't get personal information. Like, there's all sorts of privacy regulations that you need to account for in various geographies. So that is an aspect of AI handling that builders need to be aware of as well. From like an industry perspective, I mean, there's a few predictions out there from people that are much smarter than I am and that have done much more research. There's two scenarios, right, where this could go. There's a website called, I think, AI 2027 or something like that. And one of the scenarios is AI takes over and we are optimized, like our entire life is optimized by AI in all shapes or forms. Like we are able to cure diseases, we're able to run our daily lives, we're able to essentially do everything that doesn't require physical presence with AI. And then probably even beyond that with robots doing physical presence stuff as well. And then there's a plateau scenario where we regulate it into slowdown, and then it essentially helps us do more things in the same way it does now, but incrementally. So those are, I think, the two directions that this could go potentially. And obviously, there's a third direction where it all blows up on us, and well, Terminator and all that fun stuff.
Well, let's hope not that doesn't happen, right?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Oof. So can we talk a little bit about growth, Titus? Like you said, Civic's been in business for 10 years, and you've seen a lot of growth. You've worked with them, you've started your own business, you've worked with them. Again, can you walk us through a little bit or share about what is some marketing that y'all have done in order to stay in front of your clients, or that have contributed to the growth of your business over your 10 years, or visibility strategies? Like, how are you getting in front of your
So I think the biggest shift that happened in the past couple of years is now the GTM motion, the go-to-market motion is much more focused on going where people are, like participating in the communities, participating in the ecosystems. I think for us, being in Web3, it creates almost like a channel-based approach by default because of the way ecosystems work in the Web3 space. So you have a chain-specific community, then you have within that chain, you have micro communities of builders doing their various things that are specifically on that chain. So that connects all of them together at various points in time, or through, like, I don't know, a Discord or a Slack community or on X talking about the same thing. So participating in that conversation, I think, is something that's very important. Being present at the events that they're organizing your own events to support that community, and then creating more content for them. And I think for us, I think the podcast has been one of the ways we've been supporting the growth in that direction, bringing on interesting projects, bringing like in topics that are top of mind for that community, and then essentially attaching ourselves to that conversation in that way. The other way, I mean, of course, there's ads, there's all these like marketing tactics you can do from that perspective. But I think the most effective thing is to position yourself as a value provider for that ecosystem, right? And then essentially go out there and put a face to whatever you're promoting, like being physically present, like either yourself as the leader of the company or bring your sales team or marketing team out there, having people meet the people that you work with every day and meet and see how you're there to bring value and connect with them and to the business together to grow that ecosystem together. And I think in some industries more than others, it's important like to ensure that, hey, these are real people, they're honest, they're like kind, and they're great to work with, serious, committed, and committed to growth of the ecosystem.
So for you, would you say that organic growth methods have worked better for you than paid? Have you even tried paid growth methods, or has it been strictly organic? Or have you tried both and one's better than the other?
I think you need both. I think once you get enough signal for an organic method, it's worth amplifying it with paid. I think that's the cadence that usually has produced the most results for us, be it like in, I don't know, application or app downloads, web users, like builders, all that stuff. So that's been the cadence for us. The other thing is like participating and sponsoring places that where builders can build the things that we would like them to build. Like, for example, hackathons and incubators. Like, can we offer some sort of incentive or some sort of facility for people that want to try out our products in the way we want them to use them? Therefore, we can reward them for that particular implementation. And that creates a lot of buzz, and it's very rewarding to see people build cool stuff and then showcase what they've built with your implementation part of it.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that you are right now, you're joining us. So when you're talking, you're at a conference. So in-person events, and you mentioned those, doing your own events and also attending other events has been something that's been highly productive for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially as you're like launching new things or trying to engage your audience in different ways, it's like it's good to connect with them in person, shake some hands, host some like happy hours, go for coffees, go for breakfast, go for lunches, and find out like the real what people are building, what people are struggling with, what people would like to change, or what feedback they have for you that they didn't share through a forum.
Yeah. So what's next for Civic? What are the big goals for or North Star for the next 12 months for you?
Yeah, I think right now we're heavily focused on like adding more features to our auth offering. I think that's the number one thing we're focused on is making sure that it's a robust product that builders can reliably use, whether it be it in Web 2 and Web 3. They can use it in either scenarios. So making sure that they don't need to think about authentication for more than 5-10 minutes as they're building, and then focus on what they're building. And essentially getting that into the hands of every builder out there that's super early stage, like before the first check-in, before like their first launch, so that they can have peace of mind that they're building on a solid foundation. Now, on the other side, we are preparing some interesting stuff around AI agents and authentication for AI agents, the agent automation. I can't talk about too much in there in detail, but I can give a glimpse into what's coming out there with the auth MCP library that we are announcing next week. So that's something we're super excited about. The fact that you can now add authentication to your MCP server. And then on top of that, we will be releasing more interesting use cases and experiments as we prove them out, test them out, prove them out. In the same mindset that I talked about earlier, is this saving me 80% of the time that I used to spend on this task? Like I'm doing this as for example, like in sales, right? You have so little, like so much context as a person to hold for your work, for your accounts, or for your target audience. Like, what if we can 10x or 100x that instead of like being able to hold context for 100 accounts, you can hold context for 1,000 accounts or more, or 5,000 accounts as you're selling into them, and be able to do personalized outreach without having to spend the 2 hours per account per week to do that, right? What if you can do it in like 10 minutes? So those are the kind of motions that were top of mind for us right now. And I think the approach in the past has been, let's build apps and SaaS companies around those things. But like, what if you don't need to do that anymore? What if what you do is you build processes in-house that are based on prompts, that are based on requests, or based on like the context plus goals, are based on some simple implementations that connect the brain, which is the model, into your existing workflows and your existing data, and then you manage that output. And I think that's a completely new way of looking at things. And we need to go through a cycle of experimentation for those types of workflows and see what we're comfortable with, like as us as a business, as builders, right, from a Civic perspective, but also what our customers will be comfortable with. Because this is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be the 100% perfect. It has a level of variability because it's a predictive system. It's not mechanical. It won't produce the exact same results every time. But I would argue that's the same as a human employee, which you hire, and then you have only so much control over what that person can output. And there's going to be a level of variability and or chaos and or unexpected output that comes out of a person's day-to-day work. My work is not perfect. My team's work is not perfect. Our company's work is not perfect. I think everyone's like, if we really like put that lens on and stop demanding 100% perfection from work use cases that don't need 100% perfection, I think we can get to that place where we improve our workflows by like 10x.
So if I could give you a magic wand, Titus, and you can wave it over one issue you're having right now that could possibly keep you from achieving your goals over the next 12 months, what would that be and why?
I think the biggest one is this perception around perfection. I think this is what I talked about earlier. It's the biggest thing that keeps us from moving faster. It's almost like it's not move faster, break things. It's move fast and be okay with cleaning up after yourself, like as you're moving that fast. Because you don't have to break the whole thing. You can move fast and achieve most of the things, and then be okay with the level of things that didn't pan out, and be comfortable with that part of the cycle that didn't go as expected.
Very good. So can you share with me to wrap up, do you have any predictions on how AI will reshape the B2B landscape in the next few years?
I think anyone who's doing any kind of like intellectual work, any kind of written work on the computer needs to start looking into integrating some sort of AI into their workflow, because that is coming for their job, and not in the way that you'd expect. Not in the kind of Klarna, like flashy, like, oh, we fired our customer service department kind of way. No. It's, can you be a leader in your space, and can you maintain velocity in your space when it comes to like work output and performance and level of innovation, versus somebody that's coming in and using those tools at max capacity. And I think starting to use these at the earliest stages in your work, and like believing that, well, dropping the belief that there are only certain fixed ways of doing things, and being open to exploring new ways of doing things with these models. Because as I said, I think earlier, they have access to the total amount of public knowledge out there, and those contain methods and workflows and various toolkits that you may not have seen, or you've seen but you've forgotten, or you've decided that they're not appropriate for these types of tasks, whereas maybe that has evolved because of new data availability or whatever context that has shifted over time. So I think that's the main prediction or expectation I have for the future. Is like, I think AI is coming for our jobs, but it's coming to upgrade them and improve them. In the same way, I think typewriters were replaced by computers, in the same way like accounting is done now in like spreadsheets and in specialized software versus in like pen and paper and tables and whatnot. I think we're seeing that sort of a revolution in front of us. I came into like the workforce when, well, we had the social media explosion. Before that, it was kind of the internet explosion when I was in school, and like people were figuring out how to integrate that into their work. And it's like, oh, you should not research stuff online. You should like write these papers from books. And now it's people are like, you should not use an LLM to write these papers. You should like use the internet to research them. It's like, guys, no. This is the wrong way. Like ask better questions, create better challenges. And I think that's a challenge for managers as well, right? I think when you're running your workforce like in a robotic way, like micromanaging them, I think that is the part that's the most at risk from everything, because that's the part that's the most automatable. And I think if you unlock creativity in that space, and if you create those like context goals and then guidelines, but not micromanage every single step, like in a kind of if this then that workflow, and be more flexible when it comes to the path people take, I think that will unlock different ways of doing business that will put companies ahead of others. But that requires a mind shift.
Yes, I love that. I love that everything you said there, because there's a lot of fear. Oh my gosh, it's going to wipe out our jobs and blah, blah. And I love that you said it's going to upgrade them. It's not going to take them away. It's going to upgrade them, but we got to be up leveling ourselves in order for that to happen as well. It's like, and when you were sharing different things about the computer versus the typewriter, I thought about back in the day when, I don't know how old you are, but when I was in college or high school, we were starting to use a scientific calculator and the calculators. And when those calculators first came on, they were worried, oh my gosh, these kids are not going to learn math, right? They got to keep doing long form. And no, it was just a tool that we could do to simplify the process. We're still learning math. We're just able to now simplify some of the things and make it a little more efficient, right?
Yeah, I love that example. Is that thing that teachers used to tell us like, oh, you won't always have a computer in your pocket. No, I have two now.
That's right. We have so many. It's like we've computers and calculators everywhere. My daughter, she's 16 and she paid for dinner the other night and she's learning how to tip and all that. So she got a job, so she wanted to buy dinner. So I'm like, okay. So she bought it and she brought out her phone and she figured out the tip on her calculator. And I'm thinking mom is going, you should really know how to do that. Like you should know what 20% is. You may not know what 18% is, but then you can easily figure out 15% and figure that out, or 25%, like depending on what you want to tip, you should know it. And I'm like, no, she gets to use it. She's using it. She's being resourceful. I'm going to let it be. Like, we need to stop worrying about what we're going to learn and not learn, because we're going to learn it. Right. And these tools are out there just to make things more efficient and easier for us. But it's our job to keep up with that technology. And otherwise we will get left behind. Absolutely.
100%. And that's a great example. Like I use a calculator like every now and then for these tipping kind of problems. Like especially like it's a weird number. I'm like, I don't want to spend time like it's 18 20% of like whatever it is the amount.
67.42.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what that is off the top of my head, so I'm going to use a calculator for it because that's why the calculator is there. And then it's the same way I think is something that I've seen myself do and other people do with the language models, like either using like Claude or ChatGPT or like DeepSeek or Perplexity or wherever you're using. It's using it as an almost like an operating system for your day-to-day work. It's like I need to craft this email, or I need to like I don't know, create a memo for these ideas that I have. It helps me personally to add context to them, right? Whenever like I have a one-liner or a two-liner of things I want to move forward with, but then I have to give a lot of context around them. That's where I feel like the models help a lot, because they're able to add the words around the core ideas that I put in them. And I think that's fundamental to how I think models should be used, is if you don't put anything there that's meaningful or that you have to have a strong opinion about or a direction for, then the output will be slop. It'll be mediocre, low quality. But if you have a strong point of view and you spend time refining that output, maybe once or twice or three times, depending on your prompting, then your output will be quality.
Yeah. So Titus, can you share with us how our listeners can connect with you, find you, and also listen to your podcast that you mentioned?
Yeah, for sure. So podcast wise, I run I say monthly at this point, or bi-monthly podcast, Identity Unleashed it's called. We have a YouTube channel, we have a Spotify, we have all the kind of like Apple podcasts and all that fun stuff. So follow us on your favorite channel. We are also present on like LinkedIn and X. Those are primarily our platforms for Civic Technologies, Civic Key on X. You can find me as well on LinkedIn, Titus Capilnean, and then on X is Titus_K. I recently like revived my blog. It's like tituscapilnean.ro. I'm Romanian originally, so that's why the TLD is Romanian. Yeah, I mean those are the main platforms, and keep an eye out for like the latest things that we're releasing when it comes to agentic AI. We're super excited about that space, but also let's not forget about auth, which is fundamentals for everything that we do right now.
Absolutely. So make sure that you go follow Titus, go check out the podcast, and we will have all of his links inside the show notes. So if you missed any of that, don't worry, we got you covered. If you're listening to or watching Titus and I on YouTube, first of all, thank you. Second of all, there is a button there that says the word subscribe. Love for you to click that and subscribe to the channel, only because this helps us share Titus and all of our amazing guests with more people. Goal of this, but I ran out of a word. I was like, what is the word I'm looking for? The goal of this podcast is to support other businesses in growth. We see too many businesses that close their doors after so many years. The goal of this is to be sharing the wisdom and the expertise of our guests like Titus today, who's taking time out of the conference to be here with you in order to share his wisdom so we can all grow together. So the more that we get, the more you subscribe, the more we can let you know that more guests have come on to share their wisdom. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, or any of your favorite podcast platforms, thank you for listening to us. And if you can leave a review, we would love a 5-star review and a comment. Let Titus know you heard him here. But that'd be fantastic because your reviews also allow this podcast to reach more people. So we'll be in deeply gratitude of you and for you for that. Again, don't forget to reach out to Titus. I did promise you a gift. So if you are looking to grow your visibility and you're feeling like you're trying all the things and you're just not getting in front of the right people, Titus shared how they're doing it, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them. If you feel like what you're doing isn't working and that's all you're doing, then go ahead and download our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint and grab that. It's free. It's yours. Again, reach out to Titus. He's on LinkedIn. He's on X. Also, you can go to the website. It's civic.com, correct? Yes. Yep. And go make sure you check out the podcast. And we will have all of Titus's links in here for you to go grab them. Titus, before we wrap up, thank you again for your time today. Before we wrap for our conversation, can you share, is there anything that you want to share that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't touch on today?
I think the one thing that was in the back of my mind as kind of you're talking about how businesses can grow and how people can scale their reach and how they can go to market better, faster. I think it was one thing that was top of mind for me is I talked about how like the whole organic to paid cycle is the one that makes the most sense. But I think like also defining really sharply what your audience looks like making sure you're talking to the right people, making sure you're going after the right person is, I think, even more important than just doing the organic and the paid experiments. Making sure you tie that into like a motion that you're able to do for all of your products and all of your services.
Very good point. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you really have to know who you're talking to. Otherwise, it's not going to land, right?
Yeah, sure. And you can't talk to everyone. I think that's the reality of the market. Unless you have an unlimited budget, you can't talk to everyone.
Exactly. And that's what I think, businesses where they get stuck because they're like, I know I can help everyone. But I'll go back to my coaching days when I work with female entrepreneurs. I would tell them all the time, broad is broke, nicher is richer, especially when you're starting out. Now, not to say you can't go broad eventually, you can, but you really need to go vertical and you need to go really niche when you're starting out so you can speak specifically to that person. And that trust factor is going to be elevated by that target market because you are niching down into them. They're going to trust you more versus when you go broad. So I'm really glad that you shared that. Thank you so much. So thank you, Titus, for being here today. I'm grateful for your time. Thank you for listening to Titus and I today. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight.